Well, hello, I'm Janet Marana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, you might be asking this question. How can I convince my friends, my relatives, my colleagues at work, the people who I come in contact who somehow still think abortion should be legal, abortion is okay? They don't want to acknowledge the death of the baby. They don't want to hear about the damage done to the woman and all this stuff. How can I move the needle a little bit? Well, it's education. And there is one group here that has done a fantastic job. I can't think of any pro-life group around that has done more in education materials that are just so spot on, is Human Life Alliance. And joining me today, we're going to tell you about some great new resources that I know you're going to want to have, is Joe Langfeld, Executive Director of Human Life Alliance. So, Joe, welcome to the program.
Hi, Janet. It's great to be with you.
And so, Human Life Alliance, you guys have been churning out, I call them these like little magazines. For how long? Give us a little history here.
Well, we first published in 1990. Our roots go back into the 1960s, but we started to do the informational educational work in 1990 with the groundbreaking publication, She's a Child, Not a Choice.
I always remember She's a Child, Not a Choice. Now, is that still in print, or have you revamped it into something newer?
Both, actually. So when we hit some major milestones, we certainly do a revised edition of She's a Child, Not a Choice. So we did, a couple of years ago, the 30th anniversary edition of She's a Child, Not a Choice. So that's current and people can get it. And it's great for general audiences, churches, those things. It kind of runs the gamut. But what it morphed into in the early 90s was a piece designed to share pro-life information with college students and high school students. So now we have different editions that every year we change the theme so it can reach the kids with a way that they're used to talking and listening, and with clever graphics that they would not know it's pro-life. So the pro-choice kids, if we can use that term, pick it up and read it.
Okay, so let's do a little show and tell. I know you have probably a nice stack there of some of your resources. So pick up one, show it to us, and tell us all about that resource and what audience it's targeting.
Okay, well, first one here, let's see, I'll have to look at the camera here, though. This is Do I Matter? This is the 21-22 academic year edition of what used to be She's a Child, Not a Choice. What's great about it is we focus this one every summer as we develop it on the students. So people talk about millennials all the time, but they're out of college. They're the largest population in the workforce now. So we're working with Gen Z. And one of the things we've learned is the graphics need to be less bold, a little more easy. And so the cover here is this woman who is an empty face. It's a blank face, right? And some of the pregnancy centers that use it with girls in crisis pregnancy say, this is what the young kids today think like, especially after a year of COVID. It is the what I stand for, what I believe. So it's a great thing for young people, help them engage, and it answers really practical questions for them.
All right, hold that up once again, the Do I Matter. And then could you just open it up for a second? I just want people to get the idea that these are like full color information pieces for these kids. Yeah, and you've done a lot of research to see this generation, what matters to them, right? I mean,
yep,
what I see too on social media with these kids is they want to be famous. They want people to acknowledge them, right? Isn't that part of it?
That's a big part of it, especially with the gender dysphoria area and all that. But this is a 16-page mini magazine, so it's Do I Matter here. You open it up and it gives the introduction, and on the very bottom here, it goes right towards it. Hey, we're gonna be frank with you. This is a discussion about abortion. It's really about the humanity of the preborn child, kind of the gruesome realities of abortion and what it means. But we're engaging these kids. For years, we've had these rhetoric pieces in boxes all over. We have a full piece. We do a quiz right away saying to the kids, what do you think? So you can see the more simplified graphic layout. It's easier for them to look at as we go through. Here's the rhetoric, an entire article saying what's going on. We always have people's personal testimonies in there. As we move through it, we talk about abortion and race. So do minorities matter? What women get abortions, very easy to look at. The development of the child in the womb. really important, because one of the things we still hear from kids on campus is, they told me it was a blob of tissue. Really?
Right.
And where that development fits in with the type of abortions they can receive. What's new for this generation is really this spread. So this is new this year. About 80% of the magazine stays the same any given year, but this is about the RU46 abortion pill, what that process is, what happens there, and the kids, they don't know. But these young women on college campuses are doing the do-it-yourself dorm room abortions, and it's a mess. So this page right here, this is a testimony from a woman from Silent No More, so we're grateful for you allowing us to use that. We've changed her name, of course, which tells kind of the brutal honesty of that. And then on the next page here, the article is entitled Pills, 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 and it's all the chemicals these young women are dumping into their bodies, and it's everything from what's the RU46 abortion pill to what is the morning after pill, how is it different to the contraceptive pills, what do they do to their body, why does the UN call the information and the chemicals in the contraceptive pill a type 1 carcinogen, which is the same as plutonium. So the girls, the kids, the guys, they don't know it. We go through it, guys' testimonies for them to read. What are the effects of abortion on women? Former abortionist, Dr. Anthony Levantino. And we get to the end, we talk about what we call the exceptions. What about adoption? What about rape and incest? What about overpopulation? Because that's the first thing the kids say is, oh, there's overpopulation. They've just been fed all of that. And so we debunk those myths for them, and we give them the truth. And then they can make some decisions.
That's great. And so I guess you sell these in big stacks, like you can order 100 or 200 or 500. How does that work?
Sure, and we're happy we don't sell anything. Everything's by donation, of course. So we're happy to tell people our suggested donation is 50 cents a piece. But the largest amount of materials I gave away without a donation in return last year was 94,000 copies to one group. So people can ask us for what they need. We're here to share it with them.
That's great. I mean, I hope the schools are listening right now. To me, this should be like given out to every high school, every student at like a general assembly. Someone should get up there and hype it. And then as they leave, every kid gets a copy. I mean, because this is a great educational piece for young people. So I hope those teachers and guidance counselors are listening, that it's Do I Matter? And this goes just, Joe, it's so brilliant, because I've been watching all these studies about social media, and they want to be famous. They want those likes on social media. So Do I Matter? It's really going directly into that thing that they want to matter. They want to be liked. They want to be famous on TikTok and all this. So I think it's going to strike a good chord with these young people. So I'm going to pray everyone, as they're watching this show, they're going to go to humanlife.org and place an order for Do I Matter. So now, show us another one of in your toolbox there.
Okay, well, you've had Missy from our office on your program before, but so this was Just for Girls, Just for Guys. This is kind of the high school sexual risk avoidance magazine. We don't say abstinence anymore. So Just for Girls, Just for Guys. It's kind of a manual flip magazine. So half it's for the guys, half it's for the girls. It's really great because it's for those teens who don't know how to make sense of anything when they're in the midst of adolescence, right? So just like all of us, so nothing new. And what's really neat about that piece is the message is so important about how to make good choices about the future of their lives and their sexuality. I mean, we would all say that they make the right choices that would support their faith in God and everything, right? But so teachers who consider themselves pro-abortion or pro-choice still request this material for their classes because they know how bad it is out there for the kids.
Well, that's an important point you just made, because what you just is, even teachers who are pro-abortion, pro-choice, they see that the risky sexual behavior has led to the increase, as we know, of STDs and all these other sexually transmitted diseases, that these young people, they might be messing up their fertility at 13, 14, and 15 old. And then eventually when they get older and eventually marry and meet their love of their lives, find out, oh, I can't conceive a child because of the damage that happened to me back when I was sexually active as a teenager in high school, right? So I think maybe this is the hook that we're finally getting them to pay attention. While they feel, well, if that girl has sex before marriage and gets pregnant, I'll take her for the abortion. But it looks like what you're saying is they're acknowledging that maybe not engaging in sexual activity as teenagers is the right choice. So is that that's what you're finding?
The literature, the studies are conclusive. Everybody knows that it's best to wait. Even liberal think tanks in Washington, D.C. say that the real key here is that if you wait till you finish your studies, so whether that be high school or college or vocational school, if you wait till you're at least 21 and have a full-time job, you're gainfully employed, that before having children, you only have a 2% chance of living in poverty. So even if you divorce God from the equation and good morals from the equation, everybody knows that it's best to wait until your life is stable to start raising a family.
Wow, that's I mean, that's great because that's taking the secular jargon and using it for us believers. It kind of says that God's way is the right way all along. But so many people, when you say God, they go la 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 la. They don't want to listen. But it looks like they're beginning to listen because of the statistics, right? I mean, the damage is out there for all these young people who are being so promiscuous in high school, right? So hold up that piece once again. I really want them to focus on this one because this is so important. So it's called Just for Girls.
Just for Girls, Just for Guys.
So the same piece hits both audiences. Halfway through it's one, then you flip it's the other, right?
Yeah, so you know what's going on. When a teen picks up this magazine, they flip it to the other side, and if she's a gal, she reads the guy's side, and if they're a guy, they especially read the girl's side, because every teenage boy, like every man, says we don't know what's going on with women, so they want to know the secrets anyway. So that's part of the marketing piece behind it. There's also great digital content for all these student pieces. They have their own web landing pages. So for Do I Matter, it's studentmag.org. For Just for Girls, Just for Guys, it's J4G.org, and you can go there and the kids can engage with it on their phone. And then also we have what are called these digital flip books, so they can go and read those online, and we market on social media to the kids, and we share with them individual articles. I mean, phenomenally successful on how the kids, especially the high school kids, were engaging this last year. You know, if we present the articles on pornography, they're clicking on them. They can't stop from reading them. And it's meeting them right where they're at. One young man responded on Instagram saying, dude, you wouldn't believe it. I was just looking at my porn site for the day, and this ad popped up. And it told me porn is bad for you. And, you know, if we printed it out, 15 to 19 pages of back and forth between he and his friends about why porn is bad for you, or how we're liars because porn can't be bad for you. And then the young people that are engaged with them start saying, no, it's true. And the older teens, this kid was 15, a friend who was 17 said, I used to be a daily consumer. I was addicted. They're right. You should listen to them. So once we start the work, lay that piece of truth in front of them, then it's a chance for the author of truth to get in and do the real work with the cracking of the hardness of that heart.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now back to your toolbox there.
Okay.
What do you have for a little older generation, the adults out there? Because we all know some adults who say they're pro-choice, which when I hear that phrase, I cringe. But what do you have? What other things do you have there?
Okay, well, we have the flagship edition of She's a Child, Not a Choice. So not as crazy graphically as some of the young people stuff, but still focuses on the humanity of the preborn child and the gruesome realities of abortion, and tells who Roe and Doe were, what that process is, what it looks like when a woman is struggling with a crisis pregnancy, how to address her. Also along that lines are Sidewall Counseling pieces. So these have been going gangbuster during COVID. This piece, it's a smaller footprint. Sidewalk counselors take it out there, and a young woman could open up to any page and find something here that could hit her. I'm glad I chose life for me and my baby. I regret my abortion. You know, any number of things. How to save your baby, what is abortion? And the great news is we have that in Spanish as well. So we just had a report yesterday from a sidewalk counselor who's connected to HLA and uses these materials down in San Antonio. So we know about the heartbeat ban down there, and a young woman coming out of a center that he was able, with this magazine, to get her to go to a pregnancy center. She said they told her that no, it's not really 6 weeks in Texas, it's 10 weeks is when the ban takes effect. And we're pretty sure, we don't know yet, this is brand new information, we're pretty sure they're referring to they could get her the RU46 abortion drugs.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that looks like.
That we know that's what's going to happen. They're going to be giving out those pills. You know, those girls, the minute they get that pregnancy test, are going to walk in and say, I want an abortion now, you know, hurry up quick. And they're going to give them the RU46 because we know, I mean, that's just the way they're going to go. Now, what about, you know, we know how abortion targets minorities. They target the Black and Hispanic community. Do you have some resources that really speak to those communities?
Sure. This piece is still in the old supplement form, the big tabloid form. So did you know is specifically for outreach into the African-American community. We're working right now with Black pro-life leaders across the nation on developing the magazine format. So we expect in early 2022 to have a new edition of this. So we're running out with Did You Know? And the great thing about this is testimonies from individuals in the African community. This is one of the few pieces that actually has articles from pastors in here, because in the African-American community, they still listen to their pastors. You know, so, but pro-life greats from Johnny Hunter to Alveda King. Alveda wrote the introduction for us here, and so it's really great. And I'll tell you, this summer, when we were distributing this in Madison, Wisconsin, of all places, we received this mailed back to us, and people were circling these quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. saying, BS, lies. Blacks in Madison, Wisconsin and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you know, circling Alveda's credentials saying lies, untrue. I mean, that's how far we are away from understanding the truth in this country. So it's a difficult work to kind of put a primer in front of them that gives them basic pro-life truth, and then having the follow-up happen, whether it's from our office or from people in the community who hand out the materials, use the materials. But we say for pro-lifers, what's great about this is if you read one of these pieces, you'll understand 95% of every issue in that area, and you'll be primed and ready to talk about it. You'll be able to defend maybe what your faith belief is with real truth, contemporary philosophy, scientific fact, and stories, which you can never debate. Well, at least it's your story, so it was true for me at least.
Yeah.
That's really important for the movement.
Yeah, stories really, I think, you know, testimony stories, that's what really changes, because, you know, you can have all that political rhetoric out there, but when you get to the person who says, no, this is what happened to me, I did it, and look at the damage it did to me, that's a game changer, I think, with a lot of people. Now, I've had some people ask me, and I don't know if you have this or not, but do you tackle also end-of-life issues too?
Sure, we're actually one of the few pro-life groups that do. We have some other things, but currently what's current for us right now is imposed death. This discusses euthanasia and assisted suicide in America. There's one article on global euthanasia and what it looks like. And this is the most important piece we have, because if you make life cheap on one end in our culture with abortion, guess what? You have to view it as cheap on the other end, because we don't have the resources or the people to pay for those of us who are getting older.
No. Well, and euthanasia, I mean, people don't realize that the laws in some states are already in place, and the people who are out there who are pushing for assisted suicide and all this stuff, they've got their, it's kind of like the way abortion swept across our nation. You know, before Roe v. Wade, there were about 5 states where it was legal. The same thing is happening now with euthanasia. I think there's about 5 or 6 states, right, Joe, where it's legal.
11 jurisdictions.
Huh?
So 11 jurisdictions in the United States, so 10 states and Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, you know, have legalized it in some form. In Montana, it's kind of by judicial fiat, but yeah, so assisted suicide is available. And what's the problem with assisted suicide? Well, one, it requires physicians to assist in your suicide when they promise to protect your life, or at least that's why they go into medicine, right? And it's,
Right.
we hate to say the slippery slope argument, but it's the slippery slope. What happens when we view life as that cheap and we kind of decide somebody's life isn't worth living for whatever reason? That opens the door to direct euthanasia, which is what they're asking for in some states. And when direct euthanasia this last year, they've euthanized 5,000 already. So it's not, oh, I don't feel good, I want to die. It's you kill me, not I'm going to choose to, withdraw treatment. So that's where this goes, and that's what they're looking for, and that's why we have to be aware. So if we want to respect life, we want to respect God's gift and cherish all life, we have to understand what that means for the child in the womb, what it means for young people who are struggling to find their identity in the difficulties of this culture. But we have to for sure stand up in our hospitals. We say that some form of what we call stealth euthanasia, which is where they use medical treatment in an improper way to end a life, happens in every state and every hospital every day in the United States. So it's there, and your viewers will encounter it with their family members.
Yeah, I mean, I have personally seen it happen in hospitals, with family members. And we do not do in our family we do not do DNRs or DNIs, do not intubate, do not resuscitate orders. We do not do that. We do what's called a health proxy, where you select someone who knows your faith, who knows what your wishes. They speak for you if you can't speak for yourself. I mean, we've already said, Joe, how dangerous that is to have in place those forms about DNR and DNI, which means do not resuscitate, do not intubate, because you don't know what treatment you're going to need. And very often you need to be intubated for a period of time, and then eventually you will come off those machines. But to have those orders in place, it's trying to guess what you're going to need down the road. But the minute you have those orders already signed, the way the medical staff treats you in that hospital totally changes. It totally changes.
And you've locked a doctor or a nurse out of actually providing you the care that you need. And how can we predict the future? None of us know that.
None of us know that. And in fact, I can think back, one of my daughters was in a critical car accident. Now, she was under 18 at the time. All right. And of course, they had to bring her back twice in the ambulance till she got to the hospital. And then when she got to the hospital, of course, they had her intubated, they bagged her, and then they put her into an induced coma, and they kept her that way. I didn't find out till like a week later that they made a mistake in her chart. And I was wondering, why wasn't she in ICU pediatrics? Because she was only 16. They had her in the adult section because they made a mistake with her intake information. Imagine. But let's say she was an adult and she had a do not intubate order. She would have been dead, right? Here's someone who needed to be intubated for a certain period of time till they could stabilize her, diagnose what was wrong with her, which in fact she had a fractured vertebrae in her neck. She would have been dead. She would have been dead. And so I always tell people, like, come on, don't sign that stuff. And then we have that other whole scary stuff is I've heard horror stories about organ donation and harvesting of organs. And you have this stuff pre-signed. You are just putting yourself at risk. So I don't have any of it. I have what's called a will to live, which is the opposite of a living will. It's a will to live. And on our Priest for Life website, you can get the document. It's different for every state. I have that filled out. I have a health proxy who's named there. And that's it. Don't sign anything else. And I can remember one time we had a family member who was, in the process of dying. They were in the hospital. They were on a vent. And I called it the angel of death. She kept coming into the ICU cubicle with a clipboard saying, are you ready to sign the papers now? Are you ready to sign? And finally I said to her, could you please leave? We're not signing any papers. Yeah. When this person is ready to pass, they will pass, but we're not signing papers. So please leave. But they pressure you. They want you to acquiesce, to sign this stuff, to take people off life support. It's scary. And so I think you're hold that up again, for euthanasia. This, brothers and sisters, like Joe just said, even if it's not legal in your state, it's happening. People are being euthanized every day in hospitals across America. You got to wake up, and this is a great piece called "Imposed Death." I don't know, Joe. Like, you guys must be working 24/7 to keep producing these great resources. It's totally amazing to me. Did I leave anything out? Are there any more that I?
Oh, yeah, there's lots. We got a great piece on Planned Parenthood, which, pro-life leaders from across the nation write. So we're thrilled with that. But they can go to humanlife.org, click on the publications tab, and look at all the pieces we have. I see they're scrolling up the screen right now. So one of the keys is when you go to the site and you click on a page and you look at one of the magazines, you'll see that the suggested donation of 50 cents is up there. But there's a little toggle button, and the only other option is 0. So if people need enough for every family member at a church, for students at a school, it is not uncommon that people ask us for several hundred pieces or several thousand pieces, and they can't afford to help. That's what we raise money for. Now, if you can make the suggested donation, it's a great blessing for us. And of course, it allows us to serve other groups. There's nothing new under the sun there, right? But they do us no good sitting in our warehouse. We're happy to get them out, and we're always working on something new. Those student pieces are always being regenerated so that they're fresh and new and fit into the circumstances of young people's worlds today. So you can rely on us for that. That's what we do. That's what our mission is.
That's great. Well, Joe, I can't thank you enough for bringing all these important resources to us today so everyone can see, there's really no excuse, brothers and sisters. This is a wealth of information. You should get this stuff to your church, to your school, even have some in your house, because as people come and go and visit, you can be handing these out to people. These will change hearts and minds. So go to humanlife.org and place an order today. So, Joe, thank you for joining me today on the program, and blessings. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully sometime in the near future at a pro-life leaders event. Okay.
In person, perhaps, not just online.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, hey, listen, we're going to have an event here in February, as you saw on the calendar. So February, come to Florida, where up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, it'll be sub-freezing. So I'm sure you'll want to come to Florida in February. Okay.
It's a great enticement for us to get out, right? Especially during COVID here.
God bless you.
Thanks, Janet. God bless you too.
Okay. Well, brothers and sisters, you got your homework. Go to humanlife.org, place an order today. Like Joe said, he'll bless you with it. No charge. You will get these resources to change hearts and minds in your community. And remember, there are some abortions only you can stop, and some lives only you can save. Join me again next time on Just Ask Janet. God bless.